Have you ever wondered why most businesses fail? I'm going to give you the exact number here in a minute, but most businesses fail in the United States of America. Not some, not a few, but most businesses fail. In fact, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 1 in 4 businesses in the U.S. fails within the first year of operation. What? 1 in 4? That's 25%. Oh, by the way, another 25% fail within the first 3 years. And then another percentage, I don't even remember what it was, fails in the first 5 years. So you talk about 5 years, and it's a wrap. The average entrepreneur, they start out with their hustle and their grind and their side hustle and all this other stuff, and they're excited about how much money they're gonna make, and then they end up failing. 1 out of 4, 25 out of 100, 250 out of 1,000. So here's my question for you. Are you gonna be in the 250 businesses that fail out of 1,000, or are you gonna be in the 750 that win? Well, in this video, I'm gonna tell you how you can increase the possibility of you landing on the side of businesses that succeed instead of the side of businesses that succeed. Succeed instead of the ones that fail. So my first question is, when I read this, why do 25% of businesses fail in the first year? Is that a good question? Yes. Like, why do 25% of businesses fail in the first year? Well, it's not because entrepreneurs are stupid. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because there's no opportunity. So what is it? Like, why do most businesses fail? I think most businesses fail because they are misguided by those who seek to guide them. What do I mean by that? Do you realize if a person goes to medical school and they start a medical practice, they are not just a doctor, they are also an entrepreneur, they're a business owner? Do you realize that if somebody goes to law school and they pass the bar exam, they are not just a lawyer, they are also a business person? But yet and still, when you go to medical school, they teach you how to do all this amazing stuff on the human body. Can I get a witness, Dr. Siobhan? But they don't teach you how to get one human body to work on. You go to law school, you study all these laws and all these precedents and all these cases, and then you go off and you work maybe as a paralegal part-time, then you pass the bar, then you work as an associate, you work your way up to a junior partner and then a general partner, and you spend all this money on all this stuff, and they don't teach you, they don't spend 1 hour teaching you how to get a client to practice law for. I find that quite fascinating. In fact, not until recently did business schools even start teaching classes on sales. So, I believe most of these people who start these businesses, most of them are geniuses. But here's what Einstein said. Einstein said about geniuses. He said everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life thinking that it's stupid. Maybe that's why Einstein got to be Einstein. What's up? Here's the problem. The problem is all of the things that we've learned about learning. We've learned that listening is learning. We've learned that watching is learning. We've learned that reading is learning. We've learned that the purpose of learning is knowing. Objection, Your Honor. Objection sustained. None of those are the purpose of learning. What is the purpose of learning? The purpose of learning is mastery. What is mastery? Mastery is the ability to execute effortlessly without the use of conscious resources. Do you know you can have a conversation? Look at the person you're talking to, if you're a full-grown adult in the United States of America, and tie your shoes without even looking at them. You know why? Because you've mastered tying your shoes. You can do it without the use of any conscious resources. Wouldn't it be fascinating for those of us who fancy ourselves entrepreneurs to master the components of business to the same degree that we've mastered tying our shoe, where we could run a business with half our brain tied behind our back, in the words of the late 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐽. Well, what happens when we master something? When we master a skill set, when we master a mindset, when we master a tool set, we are no longer a person doing a thing. We have actually become the person who can't help but do the thing. And see, nobody ever taught us that we got to become the person. See, mastery, learning is about the whole be, do, have concept. Our doing is the output of the input of our being. Our having is the output of the input of our doing. And see, we've been lied to our whole lives. And see, what advertisers do is they'll advertise to us and they'll say, don't you want to have this? And don't you want to have this? And don't you want to have this? You want to have this car? You want to have this house? You want to have these clothes? You want to have this jewelry? You want to have this experience? You want to take this vacation? And they'll advertise to our having this. But there is a reason we are not called human havings. I wish I had some help in here. There's a reason. They say, well, just if you want to have that, just go do this, do that, do this, do the next thing. And then we think that, oh, well, I'll just go do the thing. And here's where we fall into trouble. We attempt to do something that we have no ability to do. We have the potential to do it, but we don't have the ability yet. You know what potential is, right? The potential is the difference between who you are and who you could be. Potential is the difference between what you can do and what you could be able to do if you learned how to do it. Potential is the difference between what you have and what you could have if you only became qualified. But see, what's really amazing to me is how God set this thing up from the very beginning. The very first thing he ever said to man was, be fruitful, do multiply, do replenish, do subdue, and then have dominion. What's he saying? Be, do, have. What does that mean? Be a little, do a little, have a little. Don't be can't do. Can't do, can't have. Be a lot, do a lot, have a lot. Now here's what's really interesting. One of the things the scripture tells us about God is he knows the end from the beginning. So here's what God did. God programmed into you, when he made you, he programmed into you a desire to have. Your desire to have what? Whatever you desire to have, is a God-given desire. Your desire to have more money is God-given. That's hard for people, but I'm gonna let it marinate for a minute. That long enough? Okay. Your desire to take nice vacations is a God-given. Your desire to wear nice clothes is God-given. Your desire to have a great relationship is God-given. With somebody of the opposite gender, there are two. There are men and there are women. People say biological male. That's like saying, anyway, that's a right hand. Okay. Your right hand is a hand. Yeah, well, that's, yeah. So kind of, yeah, my right foot ain't a hand. Anyway. So, God gave us a desire to have more. Why? So that we would be willing to do the right thing in order to have it. See, now, so God gave us the desire to have, and now he puts the responsibility on us to do the thing. So, I've got good news and bad news. Here's the good news. There's almost nothing you can't learn to do. Almost nothing. You could learn to fly a plane, you could learn to speak multiple languages, you could learn to play multiple instruments, even as an adult. You could learn these things if it mattered enough to you to learn them. You could. You can't learn everything, but you can sure learn more than you've learned. I can't learn everything. Why? There's just not enough hours in the day for us to master everything, but we can master more than we've mastered, and the beauty of mastering more things is it makes us more capable of mastery. That's why I think it's a good idea for everybody to learn at least one other language, and I think it's a good idea for everybody to learn how to play at least one musical instrument. It will just make you a person who is more capable of mastery. Okay. So first time I ever taught this, my wife asked me the question. She said, Myron, God, you're saying God gives you the desire to have more money? Like, I have plenty of money. Like, my money, between my money and my YouTube channel, like, just those two things, just the money my money makes me and the money my YouTube channel makes me, that's over $1 million a year, just those two things. I could probably live off of that if I plant a garden. Cut back on the lattes. No, I'm just kidding, right? I don't even drink lattes. But as much money as I have, I desire to have more. I can't believe you said that. Well, okay, don't you say it. Myron, how much money do you want to make? As much as I possibly can. Why? Because that makes sense. Let me ask you a question. How long do you want to live? And you would say, as long as I possibly can. You wouldn't say, not that long, just long enough to be comfortable. Nobody would say that, right? How smart do you want your children to be? Not too smart, just smart enough to be comfortable. Nobody would say that. How healthy do you want to be? I don't want to be too healthy, just healthy enough to be comfortable. Nobody would say that. But then you ask people how much money they want to make. They say, oh, not that much, just enough to be comfortable. If you will lie about that, you'll lie about other stuff. Oh, snap. So my wife said, well, Myron, if your desire to have more is God-given, what's the difference between that and covetousness? I believe that's a very good question. In fact, it's one of the best questions anybody's ever asked me. May I share what my answer was? Yes? Okay, here it is. Covetousness is the desire to have without the willingness to do the right thing in order to have it. There's nothing, like desiring to make money is not covetousness. Desiring to make money without the willingness to work for it is covetousness. Desire to have sex is not covetousness. Desire to have sex with somebody other than your husband, ladies, somebody other than your wife, men, is covetousness. Are y'all tracking? Yes. So God has an ordained way for you to have things that you desire to have. Okay, cool. So your desire to have is God-given. So God, the good news is you can pretty much, you have to do more in order to have it. You have to do more in order to have more. But you could pretty much learn to do just about anything. You can't learn everything, but you could learn to do, you could become the person who can do just about anything. Right? Okay. That's the good news. Y'all ready for the bad news? Everybody say I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, here it is. The bad news is everybody, including you, who? Everybody tap yourself on the chest, say me. Everybody, including you, is already doing 100% of everything you can do who you are right now. And there lies the rub. Everybody is already doing 100% of everything they can do who they are right now. So, the final piece is the thing that God cares about the most, which is the beginning, which is what? Becoming more. The only way you will ever be able to do more than you're currently doing is for you to become more than you've currently been being. And that's why today I'm going to talk to you about crushing the learning curve and why learning is the key to earning. Learning is the master key to earning. In fact, the difference between what you have and what you could have right now is exactly the same. Everybody say exactly the same. It's exactly the same as the difference between what you know and what you haven't learned and implemented yet. The gap is the same. Okay? And by the way, if you don't implement it, have you really learned it? No, because the purpose of learning is mastery. And when you master something, you get a bad case of the I can't help it. Oh, this is so good. I wish somebody would have taught me this in my 20s, but they didn't, so here we are. Okay. I get it. Earning is the key to learning. I mean, learning is the key to earning. Learning is the key to learning more is the key to earning more. Learning faster is the key to earning faster. So, I'm going to give you 6 principles of learning that you must implement in your lives if you're going to earn more money. Y'all probably heard me say this. All transformation begins with awareness. All like if you don't know it, right, you're not going to do it. J.R. Redinger, here's what he said. He's the president of a network marketing company, and he used to say, you cannot teach what you do not know, and you cannot lead where you will not go. Ain't that good? Yes. And so we have to learn the principles, which means what? Mastery. We have to master the principles that can make creating wealth effortless. Here's how you'll know when you've mastered the principles. When you effortlessly become, as an entrepreneur, when you are effortlessly becoming more wealthy over time. And I know that sounds so oxymoronic, doesn't it? It sounds like, well, what do you mean effortlessly become more wealthy? You effortlessly become more wealthy by becoming the person. So you've heard me ask this question before. What does a tree have to do to bear apples? People say it has to be planted, it has to be watered. Right, but it has to be an apple tree. An apple tree doesn't have to try not to produce oranges. Man, I guess, okay, you gotta focus on these apples. And then no, it doesn't have to do that. All it has to do is be an apple tree. When you become the person, you can't help but do the thing that will give you all the stuff that you're seeking to have. But you gotta become the person. And so you have to realize there's a gap between who you are and who you could be, and that gap, all transformation begins with awareness. That's where it begins, right? You become aware of the fact that there's more than I knew. And by the way, don't become discouraged when you realize that the more you learn, the more you're gonna feel like, the less you're gonna feel like you know. So here's what I mean by that. I'm gonna show you how this whole learning thing works. In fact, I'm gonna take this over here in case I wanna stay over here and draw something else. Okay, here comes my fanciful artwork. I don't know why you are laughing, but that was not funny. Okay, so here we go. So here's why awareness is so important, right? When it comes to anything, it could be language, it could be a musical instrument, it could be a business skill. For the sake of this conversation, let's call it business skills. These are business skills. This is sales, this is marketing, this is promotion, this is branding, this is all this business stuff. And when you first get started in business, your knowledge base is very small. It's a very small knowledge base. You take somebody like Elon Musk, his knowledge base would be outside this board when it comes to business, right? But yours is not. Mine is not. When I got started, my knowledge base was so small. How small was it? It was so small that when I got started in business, selling insurance and investments, it took me 1.5 years to make my first sale. Why? My knowledge base on how to sell was too small. But see, most people conclude when they have a small knowledge base and they attempt to do something that requires a larger knowledge base and it doesn't work for them, but it's working on them, they will conclude that it's not working at all. But all work works. It either works for me or it works on me. And I have to be willing to allow the work to work on me until I become the person for whom it can work. Are y'all tracking? Okay, so our knowledge base, by the way, this is not a scientific explanation. This is a concept. This is a way for me to help you understand what's going on in your experience of life when it comes to learning. You're not gonna find this in any scientific journals. But if you did, they got it from me. Okay, so the outside of your knowledge base has these little vacuum tubes that suck in knowledge. And they come in contact with knowledge that's directly outside of your knowledge base. This knowledge up here, your knowledge base has no awareness of the fact that this even exists. This knowledge base down here, your knowledge base, this information, your knowledge base doesn't even know it exists. This stuff up here, it's like if I talk to you about that, you're gonna, I don't know what you're talking about, dude, right? And so what happens is, as we become as we have this knowledge base, it's going to come in contact with all the little knowledge that's directly outside that's close enough to it for these little vacuum tubes to suck it in. And guess what happens? When these vacuum tubes suck in the knowledge that's right around it, then your knowledge base becomes larger. And because it's larger, it has a larger surface area, which means it has more idea receptors. That's what I call those vacuum tubes. Idea receptors. Now it has more idea receptors. It can receive, it becomes aware of more content, more information, more truth that's directly around it, and it sucks it in. And guess what happens? The knowledge base becomes bigger. Well, every time the knowledge base gets bigger, the surface area gets bigger. Because the surface area gets bigger, it has more room for more idea receptors. And so literally, the more you learn, the more you feel like you don't know. Don't let that discourage you. Don't let that overwhelm you. Let that encourage you. Oh, I get it. That's why I don't get it. Because I'm learning, and the more I'm learning, the more I'm realizing there is to know, and then I'm becoming more aware, and I'm becoming more aware of my inept knowledge. Yes, that's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. It changes the game forever. And so, as this knowledge base gets bigger. So, here's what I have to do. The first and foremost thing I have to do is I must learn to rely on principles. What do I mean principles? Principles are God's automation. What do I mean by that? So you have the principle, the law of gravity, right? So law of gravity says what goes up must come down. So if I drop this pen 10 times, it's not going to fall 10 times and then hang out in the air the 11th time, or then fall 9 times and hang out in the air like the 9th time. No, it's going to fall 10 times. Why? Because gravity always works. Why? Because principles always work. Now, here's the cool thing about principles. You have to rely on principles because principles always work. That's number one. But number two, principles are no respecters of person. They don't care. They don't care who you are. Like, principles do not discriminate. They don't care if you're black or white or Asian or Hispanic. They don't care if you're tall or short. They don't care if you're thin or heavy. They don't care if you're a man or a woman. Like, they just don't care. Principles don't care. So here's the beautiful thing about principles. Here's why we want to rely on principles. All principles always work the same for everybody. So principles level the playing field for those who know the principles. I had to throw that last part in, didn't I? Principles level the playing field. And so you must learn to rely on principles. Why? Because if there were no principles, you couldn't do anything twice and you can't have expectation without principles. Right? Principles give us the ability to have expectation, and expectation is essential for action, right? When I get ready to sit in this chair, I have to believe this chair will hold me, right? I'm going to go back over here. You don't have to change the camera. But if I'm going to stand right here, I have to believe this stage will hold me, right? If I'm going to stand under this roof, I have to believe that all the structure above me is going to hold this roof together, right? We don't. Like, there's a reason when the hurricanes came, we weren't just standing outside down on Bayshore Boulevard waiting for the waves to come overtake. There's a reason for that. Why? Because principles give us the ability to expect outcomes in the future. And the more I understand principles, the more certain I can be about outcomes before I even do the input. So I don't have to approach a new task with fear and trepidation. I can know it's going to work for me before I do it if I already understand the principles. So I don't have to ever, I hope this works. I don't hope it works. I know it's going to work. First of all, it's either going to work for me or it's going to work on me. And if I let it work on me long enough, it'll eventually work for me. I know that. Why? I'm 63. That's what I've experienced in my life. Okay? So learn to rely on principles. Okay, that's really good. But we got another one. Here's another one. We must learn to respect people. Why? Because that's what business is. Business is looking out for number two. Yes. You're number one. So when I start a business, I'm not looking out for me. Because all of the money that I desire to have and don't have right now, it's in somebody else's pocket. And so I got to look out for those other people who have the money in their pocket that I desire to have. And I've got to create something for them that they desire more than they desire the money they have to pay me in order to get the thing. So I must learn to respect people. I have to learn to put people in such high regard that the majority of the work that I do while I'm working on an outcome for someone other than me. Maybe that's why Jesus said, he who will be greatest among you. I am so hot right now, so maybe if somebody could cool it off in here, that would be awesome. Okay? So maybe that's why Jesus said, he who will be greatest among you, let him be servant of all. The person who serves the most people has the most successful business. You know why people have a hard time in business? Because they're attempting to build a business so they can make the money, or they can have the fame, or they can have the fortune, or they can have the experience, or they can have the influence, instead of hyper-obsessing over somebody else's problem. That's the secret sauce. And by the way, it doesn't cost any extra. We can all do it. They don't charge you extra to become consumed about other people's problems. But most people can't be bothered. Okay. You must learn to respect people. Respect people to the degree that you just watch people and see where they're having problems. Like, terrible customer service is just mind-blowing to me. Like, terrible customer service is why I'd rather go to Mexico than Europe. It's why I'd rather go to Jamaica than Europe. Like, when I go to Europe, the customer service is terrible. Why? Because people know they're not going to get a tip, so I'm just here to do my work. Customer service in America, one of the reasons customer service in America is better than customer service in Europe is because people expect to get a tip. You know what a tip stands for? TIP, T-I-P, to ensure promptness. Yes, that's what TIP stands for. Now, it's a gratuity. If you give it to them at the end, it's a gratuity. Man, I went to a restaurant. It was really, really crowded with a bunch of my clients recently somewhere. I don't remember where I was. They said, yeah, it's a 45-minute to an hour wait. I said, really? Okay, cool. So I went to the hostess and I said, so, I've got a question. If I give you, and some of y'all aren't going to like the fact that I said this, but I don't really care. It doesn't matter, because this is what I did and this is what I do. So I said, if I give you a fresh, crisp $100 bill, can you find me a seat faster than that? You know what she said? Let me see what I could do. She found us a seat in 5 minutes. Say, that's not fair. Okay. I'm going to let you live in the land of fair. I'm gonna live in the land of 5 minutes. Right? So what did I do? To her, I was just some customer that had like 9 people that I wanted seated together in this restaurant until her needs became my obsession. And I know the hostess is not getting tips. And she's gonna make whatever she makes that night. Unless I say, hey, I'm going to give you $100 to find me a seat. I know that probably doesn't make sense to you, but see, to me, time is more valuable than money. Okay, so you're tracking. Learn to respect people. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, learn to recognize other people's problems for the purpose of solving them, not for the purpose of judging them. It'll change the game. See, you know what? Some of your problem is you just don't like people enough to solve their problems. You just love yourself so much you want to use them to solve yours. Ooh, did I come out swinging too fast? You ought to know I was going to have the rope-a-dope. Man, he got us on the rope-a-dope, right? Right? So, like, the game of business is the game of being others conscious. That's the game of business. That's the whole game. It's so interesting. People say, I don't know why people aren't watching my videos. Because you're creating your videos for you. And you're creating your videos because you want them to watch your videos. You know why people watch my videos? Because they can tell they are the focus of my videos. I'm sharing with you stuff I've learned. So you're like, oh, maybe he'll tell me something else he's learned, right? Here's the thing. Anybody can do it, but most people won't. So by the way, it doesn't come natural for us. Here's what comes natural. That's mine. But mommy, it's mine. It's mine, right? Isn't that what little kids do? But it's mine. That's my toy. That's natural. You know what's unnatural? Learning to become others conscious. It's unnatural. So, learn to recognize other people's problems for the purpose. So these are the things we have to spend our time learning. We got to learn the principles because they always work. We got to learn to respect people because they have the money that we desire to have. And I can give them something that they desire more than they desire the money. I got to learn to recognize other people's problems for the purpose of solving them. Now I got to learn something else. Man, there's so much to learn. Well, you're going to be here anyway. You might as well like fill it up with something good. You have to learn how to resolve other people's problems. See, just because you observe other people's problems and you recognize they have problems and you realize they have the money in your pocket, if you don't know how to solve them, oh well, you're still stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck. You have to learn something that's so valuable to other people that when you share that solution with them, they're willing to pay you for it. Which means you have to figure something out. Here's the problem. We are so used to instant everything. We want instant oatmeal and instant coffee and instant, we want everything in an instant. And guess what? Success doesn't happen in an instant. It happens over time. Do you know why it happens over time? Because time is the platform that being exists on. Anything that you're going to become that you are not right now, it's going to take time. And some people are so in a hurry for it to get done, they don't let the washing machine go through all the cycles. They just write, we don't need to spin it. We don't need to rinse it. We just, can we just go wash and then dry? Okay, good luck with that. Let me know how it turns out for you. You say, Myron, what's your point? My point is you have to actually learn how, just because you recognize, people have this problem. Like Dr. Siobhan, you're a doctor, you're a physical therapist. Okay, before you could care, you probably cared before you became a physical therapist about people's physical ailments. But caring about their physical ailments wasn't enough. You had to go to school and learn how to fix them. Learn how to recognize things that are not caught by the average person's naked eye. So you learn how to resolve other people's problems. And then, this one's really hard, especially for God-fearing, church-going, oftentimes Bible-believing Christians and other people. You must learn to receive payment. One of your biggest problems as a new entrepreneur, if you're a good person, and if you're not a good person, you're a sociopath, then this does not apply to you. I wasn't even trying to be funny. I'm serious. There are a lot of sociopaths out there in the entrepreneurial world. Okay? But if you're a good person, one of your biggest challenges is the fact that you're a good giver and a terrible receiver. In fact, if somebody gives you a compliment on an outfit, and they say, man, that's a magnificent outfit. You say, oh, this old thing? They say, oh, thank you for that thing you just taught. Oh, yeah, that was nothing. What you're doing is you're telling people that you don't have the ability to receive. If you can't receive a compliment, how are you going to receive compensation? See, we think saying thank you when somebody gives us a compliment, we think that's proud. That's not pride, that's gratitude. And when we I had to learn how to be a good receiver. I wasn't always a good receiver. I learned how to be a good giver. Why? Because it's better to give than to receive. It doesn't say it's better to give and not to receive. It just says giving is better than receiving. They're both good. Let's don't be confused about it. And if you will begin to apply these principles to your life and to your business, you can last through the learning curve, and your learning curve can become your earning curve. There's stuff that because I've become this person over time, because I've become this person over time, because I've become this person over time, it didn't happen in an instant. I now have the ability to do effortlessly things that I did not have the ability to do with all of my effort when I first began. I'm so glad I didn't quit when it seemed like it wasn't working. I'm going to tell y'all something. There are people on the other side of your journey of becoming that if you give up on that journey, they can never receive your help. If I had given up, maybe those of you in this room have learned something from me over the last couple of years. Maybe those of you on YouTube have learned a thing or two from me in the last couple of years. But if I would have quit because when I first started as an entrepreneur in October of 1985, and in October they said no, and in November they said no, and in December they said no, and in January they said no, and in February they said no, and in March they said no. You say, who said? Everybody. April they said no, and then, thank you. May they said no, and June and July and August and September and another October they still saying no, and November they still saying no, and December they saying no, and January they saying no, February they saying no, March they saying no, and finally in April somebody said yes. I'm like, whoa, what'd you say?
Come on now, come on.
But I didn't stop doing the activity when it felt like it wasn't working. And after I got that one yes, I was like, oh, that's it? Oh, let's go. Put that puppy on rinse and repeat. Within a couple months, I became the top salesperson in our office. I mean, literally, every month. Just, Myron wins again, Myron wins again. The other guys were mad at me. Don't be mad at me. Last through the learning curve. See, I lasted through the learning curve so I could get to the earning curve. And I'm blown away that it felt so hard for so long. And now it feels so effortless. I don't even know. Where's my phone? Now it feels so effortless that already today, like I haven't looked, so I don't even know what I'm going to find. Hopefully I find something. Okay. Like already today, I'm going to go to, I've been up here talking. I've even made money since I started talking this morning. It's crazy. Okay. So here we go. This is just today. Oh boy, there's lots of them. Okay, here we go. My first compensation of the day was at 12:02 a.m. this morning. Somebody bought a Trash Man to Cash Man book for $29.99, or for $20 plus shipping and handling. 12:02. Okay, cool. At 12:24, that's 22 minutes later, somebody bought B.O.S.S Moves book and looks like audio book, and maybe the audio's $131. So I'm like at $160, and I haven't even started dreaming good yet. Oh yeah. And then at 3:21 a.m., $297 for a VIP ticket to Make More Offers Challenge, and then at 4:49, $39 for a what is it? Oh, B.O.S.S Moves book, and then $66 for something somebody bought online at 6:33 this morning, and then at 7:22, $97, and at 7:37, $97, and at 8:26, $97, and at 8:37, $97, and at 8:44 this morning, $297. Now I didn't count all that up, but it's more than $1,000 I made already today while I was doing other stuff, and it was effortless. Why? Because I lasted through the learning curve. Thank you for, my whiskers sometimes make the microphone go bananas. It's a pattern interrupt. That's what everybody says, right? When they do something they're not supposed to. Oh, that was a pattern interrupt. Okay, so what I'm saying is this, like, put in the work long enough to become the person for whom the work works. If you last through the learning curve, you can make it into the earning curve. And when you make it into the earning curve, I wish I had some help in here. You'll be shocked at why you ever thought it was hard in the first place. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed by the best. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. So,